The presenting sponsor of Moon Tower Soccer is FVF Law.
To find out what makes FVF a different kind of injury law firm, you can visit fvf.law.
Hello friends, thanks for listening to Moon Tower Soccer. This week we'll cover Austin's 2-2 draw against Real Salt Lake, along with the playoff implications brought along by that draw. We'll also preview a busy week of games and cover some other Austin FC news, and we're also going to play a game. And so if you are depressed by the rest of what's going on in this show, just know that the last segment is going to be a game that we play, and it's a lot of fun. We've already recorded it, and I think you're really going to like it. My name is Landon Cottom, and I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Jeremiah Bentley.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jeremiah Bentley, and in between us on the screen, we are happy to be joined by Mike Cragnola, who's going to do the show and play the game. Thanks for joining us, Mike. How you doing tonight?
I'm so good. Thanks for having me. I am excited to have played the game.
Don't give our secrets away.
We were talking about if we should record the game first or do the rest of the thing first, and we decided that we should record the game first because we're afraid we're going to be in a bad mood going into the game by having talked about all the other stuff. And then by doing the game first, maybe it would put us in a better mood to talking about the rest of what we have to talk about. So I think we did it right. We'll find out during the rest of the course. But one thing before we get started on Austin FC stuff is I bought a car this weekend. And with modern
second car?
We actually went down to one car. We traded in both of our cars and just have one car now. So when you buy a new car these days, they have a guy come out and teach you how to use all the technology on the car, which I very much needed because the first car that I drove when I moved back from Spain was a 1992 Mercury Cougar.
Nice.
And it had a tape deck that did not work very well. And I had one of those little tape cassette things that you plugged in, and it had a cable that hung out, and you could plug it into the headphone jack of your phone, and you could play music through it. But it made everything sound like it had been recorded on a terrible old tape recorder. And that was my first car that I was driving fewer than 8 years ago. And so to now have this nice new car with all this fancy technology, I very much appreciated the help. But the guy who helped us with that part of the purchase was an Austin FC fan and a listener of the show. And so want to give a big shout out to Chris for listening and also for helping me learn the newfangled technology in this car.
What did you get, Landon? Don't just leave us.
I don't know. I feel weird saying it on the show.
Okay, well, you know what? Never mind. I was just going to say that maybe we should plug Chris's place of work so that people can go in and buy a car from him. But
we don't do that for free here, Mike.
You're right.
And I thought when you said the guys at the dealership were listeners, they meant like you had preferences and like beliefs and they respected them.
And they heard you.
Yeah, they heard you, but I'm glad to know that you meant they were listeners to the show.
They did that too, but they listened to the show. All right,
Chris, tell your boss to get on the horn with Moon Tower Soccer LLC.
That's
and
right.
Make a deal happen so that we can tell everybody where that place is.
All right, let's jump into the story of the week. Jeremiah, where should we start?
Yeah, I think that Mike was just talking about this before we hit record, and it's sort of the unfortunate story of the week is that was a really fun match with a fun result that all the elements that you want out of a game, but you have to like have the complete absence of context to have that belief. And like for the season-long narrative, I mean, it was not great, but like it's a one-off. That was a fun game to be at. From the play on the field, I would say like the vibes were weird, but like the play on the field was like exciting, and there was a rally, and I got beer thrown on me in 106, which doesn't often happen because people aren't always that excited in the non-supporter section. So, yeah, that's my main takeaway from that match.
Is this a safe space? Can I speak candidly, and you guys promise not to tell anybody else?
Yeah, just us.
Of course,
three of us.
Just the three of us. I'm going to be honest and say I was kind of hoping for the Band-Aid to get ripped off this weekend and for Austin FC to get eliminated from the playoffs. I wanted that to happen. In my defense, I wanted that to happen in the most fun way possible.
It was close.
And what we got, I wanted like a 5-4 loss or whatever draw would have. I guess there wasn't a draw result that happened that 100% eliminated us.
I mean, there kind of was, but sure.
I mean, if Portland had taken care of business, then we could have had that fun game, and the Band-Aid would have been ripped off.
But do y'all think I'm a bad fan for thinking that way? I don't ever want my
What's
team
your
to
wine,
lose.
Landon?
I just want to know. I just want it to be like, we know it's going to happen at this point. The math, we'll talk about the math here in a second. It ain't happening. Austin FC is not making the playoffs, but we are still, I'm going to do air quotes here, mathematically eligible to make the playoffs. It ain't happening. And I just want us to be there so we can all mentally and emotionally move on from any hope of it happening.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Meanwhile, I know that we're going to beat Portland 10-0 and open the whole chance up of making the playoffs and then going on an improbable run where we win MLS Cup and carry Brad Stuver around the entire town and then just dip him in a form to make the statue. You know what I mean? I know this is going to happen.
In a statue.
What happened to that keeper that we had? No questions.
Oh, he's out front.
All right, so which of you wants to explain the math that still leaves the small window? And Mike puts his finger on his nose, saying,
Not it.
Oh, dang it.
Do you feel comfortable doing this? Do you feel confident doing this, Jeremiah?
Do I feel comfortable or confident doing this? Well, I mean, I can, to finish ahead of Portland, I feel comfortable doing this part of it. Austin's got to pick up every point available, which is 9 from 3 matches. Portland needs to drop every possible point. I like that Mike's nodding along after saying he doesn't want to call it. So obviously you know this, but and Austin has to make up a 20 goal differential. So Austin needs to win by 22 more goals than Portland. Yeah, they had to make that up, and because they can't tie because Portland is the leading scoring team in the league. So after goal differential, the next tiebreaker becomes total goals scored, which Austin is not going to make up.
And then, even if all that happens, we need
Dallas
to stay behind us. And so, again, as we said, it ain't happening. And this is not Debbie Downer talk here. This is we said mathematically possible, but statistically insignificant. That's how small these chances are. So I think we can go ahead and say that this is the end, right?
Well, I mean, if I didn't have a brand to uphold, I would say you're absolutely right. But instead, because I do, so you're telling me there's a chance.
Greatest team in the world.
Greatest team in the world.
Yeah.
All right. So we broke down the playoff race. I think one of the other things that needs to be talked about in this game, one of the main things was at the end of the game. Maybe you guys in your seats got a better look at this. I saw it all the way from my seats up in the upper level. Game ends. Danny Pereira runs towards John Gallagher, chest bumps him in the back. And at first I'm thinking, is this a celebration? If so, it's weird that they're celebrating right now. And then they turn around and I'm like, oh, this is not a celebration. They are yelling at each other. Did you guys get any other insight either in the stadium or elsewhere on what happened here?
I didn't see it in the stadium. I've looked at the clips that were available online, and I think the broadcast caught a little bit of it, but not much of it, so it becomes like people's phone video. But yeah, those were not good vibes.
Yeah, I didn't see any of this at the stadium. I was making my way over to start celebrating the unified team match, and so I was focused on getting to a place so that I could watch another team play Real Salt Lake that night. So I completely missed it.
I tried to piece together what I missed on the broadcast, but the only extra thing I caught is, so the last play of the game, one of the last plays of the game, Brad Stuver comes up for the last free kick to try to be a part of the attack there. It ends up with their goalkeeper, Stuver, and Danny Pereira and somebody else are sprinting back across the field. They end up recovering the ball. As that's happening, I see Danny Pereira. I think the whistle blows. Danny Pereira looks upfield and raises his arms as to say, WTF, mate. And I don't know who he was looking at. And then what I saw in the stadium is Danny Pereira runs probably 20 or 30 yards to go straight to John Gallagher and then like chest bumps him in the back while he's not looking. They turn, they share some heated words. I think Matt Hedges or Heinz Ike, I think it was Heinz Ike, pushes Danny away. They split up, and I watched as they were leaving the field. They did not look each other, did not get close to each other the rest of the time, and eventually Danny goes into the tunnel.
Do you think it was about their credit union memberships?
They both seem like credit union guys, so I feel like it's not that. I mean, it's if you're a credit union guy, it's you're covered across the board. Well, and then we had
so
this
you don't think it was filming another commercial?
No, I do not think so.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's like we had the other moment where like when Ring comes off, as opposed instead of giving Sebastian Driussi the captain's armband, he just like throws it on the ground.
Oh yeah,
and Driussi like
I missed
has
this.
so Driussi like kind of like has to pick it up off the ground and sort of gives like the WTF look to the camera there. So that was not a great moment.
Having not seen it, was it clearly like a spiteful throw, or was it like you're too far in the other direction, so I'm going to throw it here and I'm going to run off the field? Because Ring did not look super unpleased when he left the field. Like he greets all the coaches as he comes off the field and doesn't look super upset.
I guess I don't know, because mostly the video I've seen is the pickup, but like Driussi took it to be a spiteful throw, regardless of what Ring meant to be. And
okay.
I can also see Alex Ring in the moment being mad about coming off and then also being okay with it by the time he hits the sideline, because he's that much of an emotional player. So I think that's probably what I choose to believe it is. It's like he was pissed he was coming off. Then by the time he got off, he realized like, oh yeah, that was for the best. But it's just like
it was time.
It was time. It was time for sure. For sure. So there was that.
Yeah. There's another thing as far as like game vibes go is after the first goal goes in, it's like most of the Austin FC players just stand still in their tracks, and it looks like their souls had all left their bodies. And I was like, oh, is this game going to get ugly now?
Yeah.
And I think they let it get to him for a little bit, but then clearly they come back and fight and get the 2 goals at the end. And so I don't think it was entirely that, but there was a brief moment there where I was afraid like they're done, like they're toast. And it ended up not being entirely the case, at least not every player.
Yeah, I think at the half I had texted Steph because she was at a dress rehearsal for her show coming up through all of October, where I named off
show.
Huh?
Plug the show. Where can people find it?
So she's in King Lear at the Curtain Theater with the Barons Men, so you can buy tickets for that at thebaronsmen.org. And she is like really excited about getting through it. She's doing some assistant directing as well as acting in it. And so all that to say, I had texted her kind of a list of like 4 players that like clearly were working hard all match, right? Hot Air, Gallagher, Brad Stuver, Julio Cascante. And that was about where my list ended up until 80 plus.
Yeah.
When Beater came out of nowhere? Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes.
I think another notable thing is as I was walking in to the stadium, I was passed by a small box truck that had LED screens on 3 sides of it, and they were all playing, I guess, can we call it Wolff out propaganda? Is there a better way to describe it?
No, I think it's absolutely fair.
I liked the truck. I thought the truck was fun, and it had like memes on it, and like it felt so Austin, right?
Yeah, Mike, I think I saw you before last week's game, and we were talking about, I think you and I, like, as far like our sentiment and thoughts on the Wolff out movement are fairly similar in that we both think he should be fired, but also think it's very weird how parts of the fan base go about it and how much they let it consume them. And both decided that, like, if you're gonna like go out like against the coach and like hire something to put out a message, make it fun and funny. And I think that's what they were trying to do here, is like do it in a funner, lighter way than what has been shown in past attempts.
Yeah, I think this one rules. I think this one's like super fun. I think the way that the coach like is a lightning rod for this, kind of like is the perfect way to do it in Austin, right? We're so creative. We have so many talented artists in the fan base. Like, I'm glad to see memes and art be created around it, right? And like, it felt like soccer's fun, and there's no reason that calling for the coach to get fired can't also be fun.
I support all meme-based protest. And then also, I was talking to listener, friend of the show, Greg Mayer, today, and apparently 80-ish minutes in, somebody in 108 like stood up and made a passionate soliloquy about how Josh Wolff deserved to be fired, like during the middle of the game, and had the end all of 108 and maybe 107. Mike, were you close enough that you heard some of this?
Yeah, I saw this man just stand up out of nowhere and like, yeah, I think a soliloquy is the perfect like description of what was happening. He just like he was going, he was preaching. You know, it was amazing. Like there was kind of a lull in the action on the field, and so everyone in the like in 108 had like turned to look at him. Things are crazy out there.
So one notable thing that I want to mention is, and I guess some context for why this is notable, is things like this truck that was driving around the stadium, and then the Wolff Dutt plane that flew a few games back. These are things that just like a handful of fans decided to throw in some money and pay for. And so there was, I guess, somewhat of a democratic process as far as like what the messaging was, when it was, how much they were going to spend. But there was not any distinct organization behind these things. That changed this weekend as well, where Los Verdes, the largest supporters group, did put out a formal message calling for Josh Wolff to be fired. And Jeremiah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that there had been an attempt to do that earlier in the season, and they like took votes, and there was not enough votes to say, yes, we're going to go ahead and do this as an organization. There apparently were this time, and they did put out that message. So just that alone feels like a bit of a sea change in that regard.
Yeah, I think I don't believe there was enough support to have a vote, and now it was, I don't know if the results were published, but it was like overwhelmingly in favor from among the people that voted, which were several hundred people, in order to make the statement. So yeah, I think it's setting up for a rough offseason for either Josh Wolff or a whole bunch of Austin FC fans, if nothing does happen in terms of change.
Yeah, Jeremiah, you and I and Phil West were on a little text thread kind of postulating when might we hear the news if it's going to happen. And I don't think it will happen before mathematical elimination. But which I mean is imminent, right? Like it's almost certainly going to happen after this next game, or if not, then by the next game. But do y'all like if we do get mathematically eliminated, are you expecting it to be like next day or the following Monday, or do you think it could potentially go on longer than that?
I think it's the Monday after the season ends. I don't see any reason. I don't believe that. From what I believe about Burrell's going to go with a coaching search, I don't think there's like a first mover advantage. Like I still think he's going to come with somebody who we don't know, and therefore like firing the coach before somebody else fires the coach to hire an MLS retread. There's no advantage to that. It's like I think it's the day after the season ends, as opposed to last year when we got the statement about how all the scouting staff was gone and Roto was all Wolff in. Like that's where I see this statement coming.
Yeah, I am nervous that it drags on past the day after this season ends. I am nervous that it drags on until the end of MLS Cup or until January 1st, depending on what contract language is, right? Like I see a worst case scenario where somehow he's still here for opening day.
I mean, I think if it doesn't happen by the Monday after Austin is, I guess, yeah, the Monday after the end of the season, I think it is almost more likely that he's still the coach in May. Like, I think it's like he's gone by then or he's not going anywhere.
Okay, but what if, since we've talked about like Austin and like our penchant for being a little weird, a little funny, what if Josh Wolff grows a mustache and only like comes in introducing himself with his middle name going forward?
Which is what?
I want to say David.
David.
If it, he introduces himself as David Wolff going forward and refuses to acknowledge like that he is Josh, right? And so in all press conferences, like everyone's like, "Oh, Josh, tell us." Oh, I don't know who that is. I'm David. Josh was the last coach, right? This is the world where I would be okay with Josh Wolff maintaining his position.
Yeah, let's take bets on that.
This feels like a good time for a break. That's what I'm thinking. Like,
Well, I want to say, I wanted to comment on one thing you said, Jeremiah, is I think you're right that there's not any competitive advantage to firing him earlier, but I think there's a pretty good like PR reason too, just to say like, okay, we didn't meet the goals. We said that was the expectation. We didn't meet that expectation. We can't actually do anything to fix it at this very moment, but it would be a way to send a message to the league, to the fans that, okay, this is a new era. Burrell is here. He's bringing in his team. He's also now going to bring in his coach. And you're right. It doesn't change anything about the end outcome, but I think it could be a good message to people to say, we are like, change is coming. Just wait a little bit.
Yeah.
all right, let's take a break. We're going to get into the RSL match. We're going to do a couple quick previews for this week because we know we've faced these clubs before, and we'll get into a little bit of RSL news here. When no one is around.
Moon Tower Soccer is brought to you by our friends at FVF Law, the official injury lawyers of Austin FC.
FVF is a different kind of personal injury law firm dedicated to community, transparency, and client education. And they have their own podcast called Summary Judgment. You can check it out wherever you get your podcasts.
You can go to FVF.law to find out what makes FVF a different kind of injury law firm and why understanding your legal options can dramatically change the outcome of a case. Once again, that's FVF.law. Amplify Credit Union is a member-owned financial cooperative that served the needs of Central Texans for over 5 decades. As a credit union, Amplify has no shareholders or parent companies. That means more of your money stays in the community.
Amplify has been the home of free banking since 2022. Their free checking accounts come with 0 overdraft fees or minimum balances. That means Amplify's fee-free checking accounts can help you get more mileage from your everyday spending. And I was in an event with some Amplify people last week. And I mean, what I heard them say to me was that, like, this is the best podcast they've ever sponsored. What they might have said is because, like, the next line you're going to read about how they can tell about, like, the call to action on the podcast is, like, they have the best attribution. But I just, like, they said best, and I stopped. So that's what I hear. Best podcast Amplify sponsors Moon Tower Soccer.
Amplify membership is open to any Texas resident. Learn to trust your bank again at Amplify Credit Union. To learn more and to register for free parking at Amplify Esperanza branch, and this has nothing to do why this is the best podcast they've ever sponsored, you can go to www.goamplify.com/moontower-soccer. All right, we are back. We're going to jump into more details of the RSL match. we kind of covered the playoff implications. We knew it was a long shot. This made it an even longer shot. What else we have as far as pregame narrative goes, Jeremiah?
And we had this weird not weird. We had the midweek presser with Josh Wolff where he talked about, one, not a lot of pressure because nobody's burning anybody's houses down or like having pitchforks like they do in other places, which I think some people took as like encouragement to maybe like amp it up a little bit. We had two. Another thing was like because I think somebody asked about the whole like the playoffs and the minimum thing from Rodolfo Burrell, which would be famously replayed on the side of a truck later on this week.
So awesome.
On Saturday, and Josh talked about well, but also we didn't have a full roster, and like that expectation is not realistic. Which, if I was in a coach in his position, is I would have all the caveats and qualifiers I could possibly have, and then also that most of the fan base was great, but there was like a small subsection of the fan base that was calling for a change. So it just seemed slightly tone deaf. Obviously, like no effect on how the team played on the weekend, I don't think, but just kind of like how the guy doesn't give himself a lot of leeway in the way that he responds to any questions that are slightly challenging.
Yeah, I feel like this is so like a great example of like what he said is true, that in MLS, the pressure is much less than in a lot of leagues around the world. But he said something that's true in the least endearing way possible. And that is one of the main issues with the lack of popularity Josh Wolff has with this fan base.
Yeah. Yes, there's pressure for sure. You know, we always want to put the best product out there that we can for the fans. All done.
Yeah.
Fine, I'll be the head coach.
All right, let's get into the lineup. So, we have Brad Stuver in goal. This was, as far as shape goes, it ended up being similar to what we've seen in the last handful of games, where the defensive shape is a 5-2-3, offensive shape. This time it seemed a bit more like Dessler and Gallagher were playing as true wingbacks. So maybe take back what I just said. So like a 3-4-3 or 3-4-1-2 was maybe a bit more what the offensive shape looked like, with Cascante, Heinzike, and Biru playing as those three center backs, Dessler and Gallagher as the wingbacks, Owen Wolff and Alex Ring as the central midfielders, and then Bukhari on the right, Obrian on the left, and then Driussi playing as a 9/false 9/10 position. As far as stats go, I mean, compared to a lot of Austin FC games, again, in a bubble, these are pretty good. I'm pretty happy with a lot of these. 16 shots for Austin, 5 shots on goal, almost 2 expected goals from Austin. Like, these numbers are great, but no goals until the last handful of minutes, really. Stretches of the game where it looked like nothing was going to happen. And then the moment I mentioned earlier where it looked like all the players were dead on the field after that first goal went in.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good summary of
Yep.
how things went on the night. I think the biggest lineup question becomes like, which it has been a lot, right? Like who plays in the midfield? And maybe that contributes to why Danny was so Danny on the night, because he doesn't get the start. And it seems like he's played pretty well lately. So I was a little bit surprised by that. But other than that, it's kind of what you expect out of Austin.
Yeah, I would say also, like, in a 3-match week, like, maybe there's just some rotational stuff going on here, including, like, the reason why Svatok isn't getting the nod in a game. We are playing more or less like 3 true center backs, but he does come on later in the game. If he doesn't start in the midweek game, then I think it's a bigger question. But until then, and same with Danny Pereira, like, until we see them not start or not play that much in this midweek game, then I think we can say, okay, maybe there's something else going on. But it would stand to reason that there's like a logical reason why these guys aren't starting this game if they start the next one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going into the match events here, I guess I'll start with, I think the powers that be at Apple TV, MLS season pass on Apple TV. Sorry, I'm gonna get the whole brand in there. They heard me complaining about too many close-ups in the LAFC matches. And so what they did was up the number of close-ups in every match, including the ones when Austin's at home. And there was a lot of times where it's like, oh, that was a shot on goal. Are we gonna show a replay or anything? No, just a close-up of a player running back down the field. That's it. Okay, I guess that's all we're getting. And so there was a lot of stuff that I remembered happening in the stadium that was like seemed pretty substantial in the game, and they just never went back to it, including a penalty shout on Obrion later in the game where he gets shoved down in the box. And whether or not it was a foul or not, it's like it seems like a thing they would want to talk about or like show again. Never comes up on the broadcast again except for live, and they didn't even talk about it. So I guess thank you, Apple TV. Or maybe I should be careful what I wish for.
At least we saw it live on the broadcast, right? Could have been worse.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think they missed that much live play by showing close-ups.
If Olivier Giroud was there, we would have had a different answer.
As far as what Austin looked like, if you look at kind of the momentum charts on sites like FotMob, SofaScore, whatever your app of choice is, there's not a ton going Austin's way, but there were moments where it looked like that could become the reality. And a lot of moments where they're looking to play Bukhari into space, but oftentimes the passes weren't good enough, or they were kind of on separate pages, or there's one where Owen just plays a really soft pass that isn't hard enough to get it into space. And so if we're taking positives, I think that's an encouraging thing to say, like, this is an asset we have. And it seems like there's moments when we're not really looking to use it. And so there was some communication with Bukhari and Dessler early in the game about, like, Dessler was trying to play a ball inside and Bukhari wanted it into space wide. And then later, like a few plays later, Dessler tries to play a ball wide into space for him. It's not a good pass, and so he doesn't get on the end of it. But I think it's a good sign that they are talking to each other, they're learning each other's tendencies, and hopefully that can turn into something fruitful next season. What's the first moment of action? Is it this Cascante tackle on Luna?
I feel like that was to those of us, much of the fan base who doesn't love Julio Cascante in defense. This is maybe the greatest defensive play Julio Cascante has made as an Austin FC player on what was going to lead to a goal until his action at the perfect moment, and also one that often ends up with, like, Austin being and Julio sometimes being on the wrong foot of the tackle and it leading to a PK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked this play because it came almost immediately after he had not played a ball back to Brad correctly, leading to a really spicy moment. And so this felt like a fantastic way to be like, no, don't worry. I made my mistake earlier. Now I'm good again.
I had this exact same thought, Mike, because there's the moment you're talking about is there's a ball over the top and Cascante is just like slowly hopping backwards, like, everybody chill, I got this. Like, I'm just going to casually head it back upfield. And the ball lands like 6 yards behind him, and there's an RSL player in behind to get the ball. It's like, Julio, what are you doing? If you're not going to get there, turn and run. Like, signal somehow that everyone needs to be on their toes and not just stand there and let the ball go over your head.
Yeah, spicy choice. We got bailed out in the moment.
Yeah, but in this tackle in the 37th minute, I think you could blame Cascante a little bit for how the ball gets there. So we give the ball away needlessly somehow. I don't remember exactly what happens. Ball falls to Arango. There's not a lot on, and so I think everybody's just kind of slow playing it. So Ring does not step to Arango to put pressure on the pass. Our back line is playing pretty casually, but all the while, Diego Luna's making a run in behind, and Arango plays him. And so because our center backs are flat-footed, he has a lot of space in behind. Stuver comes off of his line in a foot race to the ball. Luna gets there first. Brad goes down and just pins his arms to his side because he's out of the box at this point. And so it catches enough of Brad to I guess, to put it off pace from the goal, but also slows it down enough so that Luna gets to it before anybody else does and catches up to it to get another shot. Cascante is sprinting this whole time, catches up to Luna, and puts in a slide tackle to take out the ball, take out Luna. Upon replay and in live in the stadium, you can see Cascante puts an arm on Luna's shoulder. So the tackle itself, the sliding part where he kicks the ball, 100% clean, no question. The way he grabs Luna's shoulder there, I think in a different game, or if Luna goes down, this is given. But in the context of this game, like this ref was it Lucas Spalla? He was letting him play pretty rough, but doing it consistently. I did not have many qualms with the way this game was called. He was letting them play rough consistently, and was called like things that weren't a foul in the first half were not a foul in the second half, and vice versa. And so I think in the context of this game, this was the right call, and he did a good job here.
Yeah.
Any disagreements?
No, in general, I thought the ref really let him play. People behind me in my section were loving it when we were getting away with no calls. And then as soon as we would get like just, a little bit brutalized by the fact that RSL is every single one of their players except Diego Luna is twice as tall as our biggest player. Yeah. And so like they use that size to their advantage a lot. And I was then upset that was happening. But I think you're right. Like fairness wise, let a lot of it go.
Yeah. Austin's next big chance comes right at the end of the first half. There's a recycled corner that leads to an Obrion pass getting deflected. It falls to Driussi in the box, or he kind of pounces on a loose ball. Gets a hard shot away, but it goes wide. There's a few other moments throughout the game where I feel like he was getting to the ball, not just him, a few other players as well, where we were getting on the ball in the box and either not trying or not able to create a shot for themselves. I think Rubio did it a few times later in the game too. It's like you are a number 9, you have the ball at your feet at the edge of the 18 with no real pressure on you, and you're not getting a shot away. Like, that's a problem. And it happens. So like it happened several other times. So Driussi misses this one, but at least he shot it. At least he got a shot away. And so I don't know if we can take any solace in that or not, but that's the end of the first half. RSL gets their first goal pretty soon after halftime. Stuver makes a really nice save with his foot on a Chicho Arango shot, but it falls to Matt Crooks about 6 yards out, who just kind of doinks it into the open net off the rebound. If we rewind this play a little bit, it's a bad Brendan Hines-Ike pass that puts Austin into like a scrambly transition moment. Nothing comes of that transition play directly, but it doesn't help his teammates by having them sprint back across the field. And so they're tired, they're out of position, they're kind of scrambling. And then on the recycle play, they're in this state. The ball gets recycled, gets clipped diagonally across the box towards Arango. It's pretty floaty ball. I think Biru should be able to get to this no problem. And again, talking about like the body language that Cascante had in that early play, in this one, if Biru reads it and doesn't think he can get to it, you turn and you face up the guy who's going to receive the ball, and you get ready to defend in that moment. But he doesn't do either of those things. He doesn't win the ball, and he doesn't face up Arango. He instead has the body language of a person who's like, I'm going to win this. And then he misses it. And then Arango's in on goal by himself. And Stuver has to bail him out with that save, but it leads to that rebound there. So again, just, I think this is a thing that we're just going to have to take as par for the course with Biru, where the things he can provide going forward are in direct opposition to the way his brain thinks on the defensive half of the field.
Yeah, I think it's like super fair. I think is this the one where like those shots combined were like 0.75x goal or whatever, like between the two. I think that's right. Like they were.
Oh yeah,
They were better than a penalty between the two because the way it the way it that it unfolded, and yeah, man. I mean, that one was kind of inevitable.
Yeah, so this was the goal when I thought that okay, the players look done. Like this game is over. But then 64th minute, we go to VAR after the ball's kind of been in play for a while. We see the replay. It's a very clear Owen Wolff handball. Gonçalves had been subbed in, their new DP. He kind of chips the ball over Cascante's leg into the box. Owen lunges to try to block it, and I think he thought it was going to be lower than it was, that he could get it with his leg. Whenever he realizes this isn't the case, he kind of lunges again with his upper body and just punches the ball with his bicep. So super clear pin. Gonçalves sends Stuver the wrong way with a slow run up and scores the penalty. The next 15 minutes are pretty uneventful. Not a lot goes on. I had kind of emotionally checked out from this game.
Jackson Bentley was playing whatever the current version of Tecmo Bowl is on his phone at this point when it was 2-0, and I was like, I wanted to be mad, but I couldn't because it was fair.
You were only mad that you weren't playing Tecmo Bowl?
Yeah.
I was still paying attention, but was not invested, if that makes sense. But Ethan Finley gets a ball in behind, plays in a cross that's just behind Alex Ring, but gets a little bit deflected back across to the far side of the 18. Gallagher recovers it and starts to set himself up to shoot. And then this is a part that, if we're being generous to John Gallagher, we're going to say he chose to lay it off to Obrian. If we're being realistic, I think he was setting himself up to shoot and just took an extremely heavy touch that he was never going to get to, and Obrian bails him out by recovering it. Either way, ball ends up with
Don't spin the
Hunter
narrative
Obrian.
that way, Landon. Don't
I gave two
spin
options.
this.
I gave two options. And so Obrian takes a touch, hits the ball. He doesn't hit it super hard, but it's well placed, and it's kind of against the grain of the way the defense was moving, and then catches McMath off guard because of the direction of it, and it sneaks in on that far post. Austin's all of a sudden back in the game, and one funny thing I noticed on this is the shot also Megs. Is his name Adam Brody? It's not Adrian Brody. Whatever Brody, their fullback. The shot Megs him, but if you go back a little bit further, I think Ethan Finley's offside up until the exact moment or Biru, whoever plays the ball to him in behind. But Brody sprints behind everyone else on the defense for whatever reason and keeps him onside. So he keeps the first pass onside and then gets megged for the goal. So not the best from him there.
Oof.
Just a few minutes later, Austin ties it up with a Biru goal. So a bunch of numbers forward, 5 players across the front line at this point in time. Driussi plays a perfectly placed and perfectly timed ball into Biru in the box. So we talk about over the span of Austin FC's existence for, I think mostly 2023 was the all cross, no goal season. There's moments that are good crosses, and you want to catch the defense as they're adjusting or stepping, or the momentum of the ball is going to be against what they're doing. Driussi catches their back line stepping, and so they're already going the wrong way when he hits it, and then just curls it directly behind a defender. The defender, it does get a foot on it, but luckily it just kind of bounces up onto Biru's thigh. It falls down right in front of him. He's able to run onto it. He's pretty bold with his placement here because he's closer to the left side if you're facing the goal. He could have played it the opposite way, and I think he was trying to catch McMath off guard by going the opposite way, but McMath dives to the near post. Luckily, Biru hits it well enough to beat him, but really well taken goal by Biru there.
Yeah, this was the moment where I thought maybe we win. The vibes were just so good from here out. And I know that's only like 7 minutes, but still, I don't know about y'all. Did it feel that way from your seats as well? Like, could we do this?
Yeah, I mean, the momentum was all Austin at that point, right? And Biru almost gets the winner in the 93rd minute. He's, I don't know, 6 to 8 yards out, and a ball comes across the box, and he puts it just wide. But it was the setup and where he was and where the shot was, it very easily could have been the winner.
Yep. Mike, did you think that was, because that was like both honor and he missed to our side. Like, did you think at some point that was going in?
It looked so close, but it read just a bit wide to me. And yeah, I think if it had been on the opposite side, I would have been celebrating already. Because like whenever it hits the side netting on the opposite side, I'm like, oh my God, what a goal. And like that gets me every time. Yeah, gets me every time.
I saw some folks making the statement like, why don't we play like this the whole game? Which, fair. Like, I think as far as effort and intensity goes, yes, fair question. But as far as the structure goes, I saw a friend of the show, Long Cow, make a good point today as a response to that type of question. But it's like, Guilherme Biru was essentially playing as a forward. Danny Pereira was on the front line. Yeah. We had no players in defense. So if we play a whole game that way, maybe we score 3 goals, but we're giving up 6. And so structurally, that is not a sustainable way to play. But the intensity level, I think, did change also.
But what if Guilherme Biru was the striker?
So he could be one of our best forwards. Yeah,
right. I mean, he's got one of the best shots on the team. Like I haven't seen a guy on Austin hit the ball as filled with hate as Guilherme Biru does. Like, well, what if
this is the kind of statement I will often roll my eyes at when people say, "Oh, Owen scored that great goal. We should play him at the 9," or this happened. We should play this person as a forward. I would honestly, if we played Guilherme Biru on the wing for a game, we'd be like, yeah, I'm cool with that. Makes sense. He's great.
Like he's so clearly goal motivated, right? And so clearly like turns off sometimes in defense. I'm just saying, like that solves both of those problems. If you're like, yes, do the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. So we mentioned this earlier. Stuver joins the attack for the last free kick. Nothing comes of it. Game over.
Been the best though.
Somehow Austin's still not mathematically out, but they're out. Like
they're out. Yeah,
this is it. Do y'all have anything else from this game?
I feel like we talked about this game enough. Let's like take another break. Talk quickly about next matches, and then we'll get into our game that is not this game or the upcoming games, but will be a fun game.
It is fun.
Yeah, it is fun. This is the Wikipedia game. Listeners of Total Soccer Show will recognize this format that I stole. But yeah, we'll do our previews and we'll come back in and listen. Y'all get to listen to that game.
Moon Tower Soccer is brought to you by Sage Wilson Realty. The Sage Wilson team is made up of Austin experts who are client-focused and have over 30 years of combined real estate experience. Our friends at Sage Wilson Realty are giving away 2 tickets to an or the upcoming match. Fill out the form in the show notes for your chance to win.
If you or someone you know are in need of Sage real estate advice in Austin, talk to our friends at Sage Wilson Realty. Be sure to check them out online at sagewilson.com.
Our premier sponsor is McGuire Woods Consulting, helping clients in the public affairs space, from lobbying at the local, statewide, and federal levels to digital and communications campaigns across the country. And I cannot wait to hear how Landon says at the second half of this ad read right now.
McGuire Woods Consulting has offices in 10 MLS cities and is proud to support Moon Tower Soccer and support Austin FC's
being the best team in the whole world.
Being the best team in the world and their infinitesimally small chance of making the playoffs. Contact our friends at McGuire Woods Consulting at mwcllc.com for more information. All right, we are back. We're going to do our previews for the 2 matches this week and then get into the game, but the Wikipedia game. But first, let's cover very, very quickly some Austin FC news. Jeremiah, I think you wanted to say something about Austin FC, or sorry, Q2 Stadium's new certification.
Yes, so Q2 Stadium recently became the world's first soccer-specific stadium to earn true certification, meaning if they recycle at least 91% of their materials diverted from the landfill, meaning that it is a zero-waste facility. And I'm just going to leave it to the fans to determine like whether there's any trash left inside the stadium or not, maybe on the field often. And we'll move on from that.
All right, let's talk about Austin FC 2. So they are in a not great, but better than the first team situation as far as
relative.
Playoff hopes go.
Yeah.
So again, I guess, Jeremiah, you're the expert on this now. Do you want to explain the math behind their chances of making the playoffs at this point with 1 game to go?
Yes, and I'm going to give credit to Moises from Verde All Day who did the math and wrote it out. And 1, that lets me give him credit. And 2, if this is wrong, it lets me share the blame with him about this. But so with the so it's a win in extra time against Vancouver Whitecaps 2 at Palmer Field on Friday. What it comes down to is on Sunday at 3 p.m., Austin plays against the Town FC. And if they win against the Town, then Austin ends up in the 8th spot, which is the playoff spot, as long as Houston Dynamo 2 lose or draw, regardless of how it goes to PKs, and Real Monarchs lose or draw. But if they draw, they have to lose the PK shootout. So, like, Austin needs to win. The Dynamo and Real Monarchs need to lose in whatever form that needs to happen, and they will make the playoffs. But for a team that has been outside the playoff line for almost all the season, it's an interesting finish, and it would be I feel like this, like they're better than they've been because there's been so much transition, like from the first team to the second team and people being hurt and whatever. So like they could be an interesting team in the playoff run in MLS Next Pro.
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious to see if any of the guys who are on first team contracts, namely, I guess CJ is really the only one. I don't think Jimmy is going to get any first team play. Micah is not going to get any first team play. But CJ, I could see them maybe shifting him up as just like, okay, this season's over. Let's try to lean into something that's going to be around for next year. We'll see if that actually happens.
Yeah, and CJ, I think he just hit did he hit his 10th goal? Maybe the 9th goal for FC2. So like he's had a pretty strong season for them. So it would be a bit of a loss for their opportunities to make the playoffs if he's not playing on the second team.
What else we got? Any other news before we move on?
And we got another the Q2 Stadium is going to be a host for the 2025 CONCACAF Gold Cup. Continues the trend of seeing Q2 hold sort of to be a home for international matches. Seems like crowds are still pretty good when the national teams play. I mean, that should be another fun thing to be able to do. Another thing is like me as a soccer fan for a long time, like never being able to think that I might see a national team play in my town is really cool.
Very much so. All right, let's get into our previews real quick before we move on to the Wikipedia game. Let's start with the Portland Timbers. Jeremiah, what do we got?
So we got Portland Timbers on the road on Wednesday. I think we've talked about this. We should win by 10 or 15 goals if it's going to be interesting at all.
Which the only way.
The only way, which seems tough because Portland has scored 10 goals in their last 5 matches, 64 goals in the season, most in the league. Among their last 6 meetings between these two teams, Portland has won 5, and there's been 1 draw. Austin has not won those. And Portland is unbeaten in their last 11 home matches.
And I saw this, I think this is a tweet from the MLS account, but Evander was out in the last game with yellow card accumulation, but he's been on fire and had 11 straight games with a goal contribution. And he's been getting shouts for like MVP. And if he doesn't win MVP, it's only because Portland aren't one of the top few teams in the league. Otherwise, he would be a shoo-in. But yeah, there's some other Austin stats you have here, Jeremiah. That
yeah, Austin scored less than 1 goal game over the last 5 matches. So I believe his last 10 matches, Austin was under 1 goal a game. Austin hasn't won in at least 5 matches. Also have kept a clean sheet, which those kind of connect to themselves. But yes, all the statistics point to things being good for Portland. But Mike, what's going to happen on Wednesday?
11-0. 11-0 Austin. Classic. Every player on the team is going to score, including Brad. They're going to send him up for one more. Put him.
All right, let's move on to the Saturday match against the LA Galaxy. These are both on the road. Jeremiah,
Wait, is this
what do we?
This is the harder match, I guess, of the two after setting the Portland one up. Yeah, somehow LA Galaxy leading the Western Conference, 6-match home winning streak, plus 17 goal differential. Paintsel, Joveljic, Peck, Ricky Puig, all with at least 10 goals, so they can damage you from everywhere.
Also, they have Marco Royce now.
Oh, and Marco Royce. Just in case you thought it was going to get easy. So, I don't know. I don't know what else we need to say about this. It's going to be a hard week for Austin.
Yeah, I think I'm most upset because I've been doing pretty well in MLS fantasy this year, but I have a rule that I will not play any players playing against Austin, which means that all of Portland and all of LA are out for me this weekend, So if you're in my head-to-head league and you have me this week, congratulations. I guess you win.
Like 5 of the top 10 point scorers in MLS fantasy.
Yep. Off the table.
I like how should Austin FC fans be approaching this week? Do you have any mantras or words of wisdom you would like to share for them or for me?
I mean, I'm just going to go. There's like a lot of fun players we're going to get to see this week, none of which play for Austin FC. So maybe like Evander.
Some of which play for Austin FC.
Yeah.
There's more that play for the other team.
And Mikael Dessler both play for us.
Like, I love watching Evander play. I love watching Ricky Puig play. Like, I'm just going to try to. And if Austin manages to stop these guys, then I'm going to feel really good about how we've done this week. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm probably not a good person to answer this question.
Yeah, I think the way for me to get through these matches is to feel the same way that I did about RSL. A game can be fun in a bubble, context free. I can enjoy what happens. Also remembering that like the sports is entertainment, and it's okay to just have fun with it once you're at the point where like your expectations can't be met.
Very, very wise of you, Michael. I think one thing I can look forward to is hoping that, unlikely as it is, it has happened this year where Ricky Puig just has a big old stinker of a game, and I get to laugh at him because I think he's a huge dork.
Yeah, his haircut and tucking his shirt in isn't helping.
Yeah, there's some guys in the league who know they're a dork, and they play into that. I would say Austin has some of those guys, and they just own it. They're just dorky dudes. Ricky Puig is a dork who thinks he's cool, which makes me hate him. All right, anything else, boys?
No, I feel like that was the best end of this preview that we could possibly have had.
All right. We already did the rest of this. Let's go on to the Wikipedia game. We've already recorded this. It was a lot of fun. So regardless of what you thought of the rest of the show, I think you'll enjoy this part. So enjoy. All right, we are back. It is time to play the Wikipedia game, Austin FC edition. So before we get started, I'll give some background and some rules, lay of the land here. Where I got this game from is Total Soccer Show, which, as is much of Moon Tower Soccer's DNA, this game is stolen from them, but I don't feel bad about using it because they stole it from a different podcast that's like a movie podcast or something. So how this is going to work is I'll have the Wikipedia pages open of a number of mystery persons. I will give you a few clues about this person. These clues will be specific enough for you to realistically guess who the player is, but vague enough that they might at times apply to more than one player. So once I give you the clues, Jeremiah and Mike are going to bid against each other on how many clubs that this player played for that I need to give them before they guess the player. So this is a little complicated and you're probably not following very well yet. So let's do an example. So I'm going to give you the clues for a non-Austin FC player, just as an example. We'll say, for the sake of argument, Jeremiah is going first. This person is widely regarded as one of the greatest players of all time. He set numerous records for individual honors throughout his career, including 8 Ballon d'Or awards. He is the most decorated player in the history of professional football with 44 team trophies, including 12 league titles, 4 UEFA Champions Leagues, 2 Copa Americas, and 1 FIFA World Cup. Jeremiah, you're up first. How many clubs do you need me to name that this player played for before you can name who the person is?
Well, I may regret this later when we get to the Austin players, but like if I can name that player just based upon clues, that's a 0, correct?
Yeah. So if you're like not sure and you think 1 or 2 club names would help you out, then you say, let's say you bid 2. At this point, Mike gets the opportunity to either bid a lower number or challenge you.
Yeah, so in this one, I would bid a lower number. I would bid the number 0.
So that means I'm not going to tell you any clubs that this person played for, and you're just going to name the person.
Yeah.
And so I think in this example, it's probably quite easy to get. This is another little wrinkle, is that you can go negative on your bidding. So Jeremiah bids 3, Mike bids 0. Jeremiah then can say, I'm going to bid -1, meaning no longer am I telling Jeremiah the names of clubs this player played for. Jeremiah is then going to name 1 club that this player played for and name the player. And so let's say Jeremiah says -1. Mike, you say, I don't know who it is. No, you say, I don't know who it is. I'm going to challenge. So Jeremiah, you've been challenged at -1. Therefore, you have to name 1 club and the player. Go for it.
Leo Messi, PSG.
There you go. So that would be 1 point to Jeremiah Bentley. Other important details is when giving you, like say you do bid a positive number and you get challenged, I will name the clubs that this person played for in chronological order.
Cool.
Meaning I'll start with their first professional club and work forward in time. You do not have to make your guesses in that order, but that's the way that I'm going to give the clues to you. And I guess one other little hint, because this is we're playing Austin FC edition. This is only people associated with Austin FC. So a lot of these clues are going to be framed as such that you might not know who the person is, and that maybe the club clues will help you. But then there's probably going to be others where you know who the player is immediately, and it then becomes a competition of which one of you can remember more of their past clubs. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I guess for Austin FC edition, will every single person that is named, Austin FC is one of their clubs?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Whether they are a player or associated with in other ways?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Well,
and then
okay. You just brought up an important wrinkle.
Yeah. Because that changes. They could potentially. I don't know who your players are, right?
Yeah.
Or
no.
who your
Okay.
people are.
So if they are a person who played for Austin FC, then yes, it will be included in their clubs.
Okay.
If they did not play for Austin FC, then it will not be included in their clubs. And that's as specific as I'm willing to get.
Great.
All right. Do y'all think we're ready to start?
I mean, we're
I
ready
think
to
I'm
start.
as ready. Yeah. I
See
think
where
I'm
we
as
go.
ready as I'm going to be.
Okay. To decide who goes first, I'm going to think of a number between 1 and 100. Each of you, on the count of 3, say a number between 1 and 100, and whichever one's closer gets to go first. 1, 2, 3, go.
3.
38.
Jeremiah's closer, so he's going to get to go first.
What was the number?
I'm not telling you, Mike.
Why?
It might be a clue to one of the answers. Okay, we're going to get started. And to give you a peek behind the curtain, on the document I'm working off of, I put the person's name as the header, but I was afraid I would just read the person's name as we started reading the clues. And so I put, don't say the name before each of the people's names as I'm going down the list here. All right, Jeremiah, number 1. This person played college soccer before joining the MLS club nearest to where they grew up. They went on to become an MLS All-Star and played dozens of times for the U.S. men's national team. How many clubs do you need to name this player?
Two.
Mike, do you want to challenge or do you want to bid lower?
Let's do 1.
All right, Jeremiah, challenge or lower?
I'm going to challenge. Go for it, Mike.
Okay,
Oh, no.
so because you got 1, I'm going to give you the first professional club of this player.
Okay.
In some cases, it's not going to be very helpful. I think in this one, it might be. The first professional club was Sporting Kansas City.
Matt Beasler?
It's Matt Beasler.
Yes. He's the best. I miss him so much.
All right, Mike, number 2 is for you. This person was an All-American college soccer player. They were selected in the 2012 MLS Super Draft, where 2 eventual Austin FC players would be chosen back-to-back. I will not say if this was the first or second player chosen in that order. This person has, let's say, 5 or fewer caps for the U.S. men's national team.
I'm going to go spicy. Can I do it in -1?
Yes. So unless Jeremiah challenges you to -2.
I'm going to go -2.
Mike, challenge or bid lower?
I'm going to go -3.
I'm going to challenge now.
Hold on. Let me check something too. Because if we run out of clubs, then that's an instant challenge. Okay, so we can go more if we need to. But
Oh, no. Then I don't know who this is.
Mike has been challenged at -3. Is that right?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So you have to name 3 clubs that this person played for. Again, you don't have to do them in chronological order. It can be any 3.
Right.
And then name the player.
And so I have to name the clubs and then the player, not the player.
Either
then the
way,
clubs?
you can say the
Great.
player's name first. Who do you think it is?
I thought it was Ethan Finley,
Okay.
and the clubs were Austin, Minnesota, and Columbus.
Okay, so this is wrong. Just for the fun of the game here, do you have a second guess, or Jeremiah, do you have a guess of who the other person is? Who was the other person chosen in that draft back to back?
Oh, man. I feel like we've talked about
This
this
person
with one of those people.
Told us this in an interview we did with them.
I know. I remember the interview, and I remember them not being Ethan Finley.
I remember.
But I
Was
don't
it
remember who it was.
Jossie?
Not
it-
Jossie. Again, five or fewer caps for the U.S. national team. But more than 0. I'll give you that, too.
Matt Hedges.
It's Matt Hedges.
Wow.
Matt Hedges was... Ethan Finley was chosen one spot, and then Hedges was chosen in the next spot. And so, like, by chance, Matt Hedges goes on to become a legend at FC Dallas and could have very easily ended up in Columbus if the draft had gone a little bit differently.
Honestly, the fact that I got the 2012 draft, like the other person in that draft, right, makes me feel pretty good. 50-50 shot. I'll take that.
All right, so what's the score now?
1-1. Or do I lose a point and it's 0-0?
No, so if you get it wrong, then your challenger gets a point.
Great. Then
So
1-1.
we're at 1-1, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeremiah's up. This one, I only have one clue for this one. This clue is this person is a defender from Brazil. How many clubs do you need, Jeremiah?
Oh, geez, man. I mean, I'm gonna lose this one because I can only think of one. I'll go with one. I'll go with 0.
Mike?
Oh, then I will go with -1.
Oh, crud. Yeah, that's how this game works.
Okay.
You just reminded me that before we
Jeremiah.
started recording, too, Mike.
You can still challenge again, Jeremiah.
Yeah, but I
Unless
can't
the
get to
only
two.
one you can remember is Austin FC.
I can only remember one. I've failed this game. All right, go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, the club is Austin FC and the player is Guilherme Birru.
That is correct. Did anybody want to venture a guess at any of the others?
It's not Corinthians, right? That's the other Guilherme Birru.
I think that's true. It's not Corinthians. I don't remember where the other guy plays, but Mike, one of the clubs is the name, at least in Spanish, I think in Portuguese also, the name for a flower.
I do
sun-
not
a
remember.
sunflower.
It starts with an M, right?
Yeah. Do you know how to say sunflower in Spanish?
I don't.
It's Mirasol.
Mirasol, that's what it is. Marisol
played
is
for-
a name.
Coritiba, which was his like youth club and then his first professional club, and then Mirasol, where they bounced back and forth between the first and second divisions until he came to Austin. All right, so that is another point for Mike. So it's Mike with 2, Jeremiah with 1. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So whose turn is it now?
It's my bid.
Okay,
Yep.
you're bidding first. Number 4. Okay. This person was signed in the lead up to Austin FC's inaugural season. Despite appearing fewer than 50 times over the following 3 years, this player became quite popular among certain parts of the fan base. Before joining Austin FC, this player played in Paraguay. That's it. How many clubs do you need?
I need -1.
Jeremiah, you going to challenge? You're going
minus-
to bid one lower.
I'll take -2.
Okay. Mike, challenge or bid?
-3.
Oh, you know where he's playing now, don't you?
I sure
it.
do.
All right.
All
I
right,
will challenge. I will challenge Mike because I can't go -4.
I was going to
Okay,
say,
so Mike has to name 3 clubs in the player. So you want to
Yeah.
name the player first?
obviously it's Lord Rodney Reddice.
Okay.
And the clubs are his current club, Olympia, his former club, Austin FC, and the club he came from, Guarani.
Ding, ding, ding. You got that right.
I would
wrong button.
I would have
So
had a divorce if I didn't get that one right. I would have been out on the street.
well, I think I was surprised by how confident you were because all of these clues applied to another former Austin FC player.
Yeah, but I forget he exists.
I don't know if I'm talking about the one you're talking about.
Cecilio?
No.
Oh,
Johan
Johan
Romagna.
Romagna.
Yeah. Beloved by beloved by Swoon Tower. So that's
Yeah, Johan
true.
also. But
I think it's like maybe different pockets that were that beloved these 2 players, but they were both beloved in certain pockets of the Austin FC fan base for sure. I should have made the answer Johan knowing that you would have guessed Rodney.
oh yeah, that was your fault.
All right, so that's 3-1. Is that right?
yes,
Yes.
Okay, so Jeremiah, you need to win.
3 in a row.
I've got 3 listed here. One of them is just a tiebreaker. So 2 more normal rounds. Jeremiah needs to win both of them in order to get to the tiebreaker round.
Well, and then there's the goal differential and, the number of wins and the goals for. And so I don't know.
Fair play, yellow card accumulation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Handsomeness quotient.
Number 5. This person played at only one MLS club before joining Austin. They have made double-digit appearances for their country's national team. This person is one of the few players to have worn the captain's armband for Austin FC. So played at only one MLS club, made double-digit appearances for their national team. One of the few to have worn the captain's armband. How many clubs do you need?
Gonna go with -2.
Okay, Mike, challenge your bid.
Challenge. Take it, Jeremiah.
All right. I'm gonna go Julio Cascante.
Okay,
Say Austin FC and Saprissa.
I'm gonna have to check the club. Yeah, ding, ding, ding. You're correct.
Nice.
So, I thought you were maybe falsely confident here too.
Yeah,
Which
I thought
player
it
did
was
all
gonna
those
be
clubs
Alex
apply
Ring.
to? There you go. All these clues applied to Alex Ring as well. Cascante, I think, wore the armband like 5 times from the start of the game in 2023, but then I think he's been given it later in games as subs or injuries have happened in other moments as well. So Jeremiah, you've made up one gap, one point of the 2-point gap you needed. So this
Taking
next
it down
round
to
is going to be a fun one. So Mike, you're going to bid first here. This person was born in the Gambia, but started their pro soccer journey in Austin, Texas. After leaving Austin to join an MLS team, this person went on to play for 9 different pro clubs, including 5 MLS clubs. While playing for Austin FC, he was apparently quite busy on the dating apps, and a friend of mine, who shall remain nameless, went on a date with him.
Where did they go?
On the date?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't know that she told me, but
It's not in the clue, but
it was
and
the
it doesn't change my
it
answer.
was the only date they went on.
Great.
Wait, if this is this person I'm thinking of, they're still on the dating apps and still use their Austin FC jersey and also tried to go out with a friend of mine on the apps.
Where did they try to go?
I don't know. She's like, is this guy good? I'm like, I love that he's still using this profile pic because no, he's not even on the team. She was just wanting free tickets.
I don't think he's even a professional soccer player anymore. All right, so Mike, how many clubs do you need? Or more likely, how many clubs are you going to name?
I think I can go -4. I don't know if I can go further than that, though. So, Jeremiah, if you can do -5, it's yours, bud.
I can't do -5. I can't do 5.
All right, you've been challenged, Mike.
All right.
Who's the player?
The player is Kikuta Mane.
Okay.
And the teams are San Antonio FC, Austin FC, Vancouver, and oh God, where was he? It was a Canadian Premier League team. Oh no. Oh no, I'm not going to be able to do it. I can't come up with a fourth one. I lied.
I'm going to give
so
you
glad I
10
didn't
more
go with 5.
seconds.
Oh, God. I'm just going to make a random guess of Sporting Kansas City.
Let me check. No, that is incorrect.
All right.
Jeremiah, can you name any of the other ones?
No, but I don't have to. I don't care. Did he play for the Aztecs at some point?
He did. That was his first Austin.
Okay,
Oh,
so
that's
that
what
would have been my other
that's
guess. That would have been my other guess.
That's yes.
I would have also accepted Steve Biko, which was the club in the Gambia he played for, apparently. Then came to Austin, went on to play for the Vancouver Whitecaps, Columbus Crew, Pachuca in Mexico, St. Gallen, which I think is Swiss or Belgian. I don't remember what country that's in. FC Cincinnati, the New England Revolution, Austin FC, San Antonio FC, and then the club Mike was trying to think of was Pacific FC.
Wow.
So we are now tied. Jeremiah made the comeback.
Woo.
So let me pull up my tiebreaker round here, which I did not actually write clues for because I didn't think we would get here.
Yeah, I almost said the Bold, and I knew it wasn't the Bold, but I couldn't think of the Aztecs, and that's
I for a moment I was gonna try to write it vague enough to make you think it was Mackenzie Gaines. But then I thought it would be a funner game to see who could remember more Kukutamane clubs. Okay, here we go. This person.
Wait, who's bidding?
Oh,
Is it me again? I think
That's a good
Did I go
question.
first?
Yes, it is,
Yeah.
because I bid -4. Like,
Is that a fair way to
lunatic.
do it, or should we do a coin toss?
No, it's his turn.
Okay, fair enough. Very sporting of you, Mike.
I mean, he won the original guess, even though you wouldn't tell us what the number was. And I guessed Mikael Dessler's number 3, and it wasn't his. And Landon, I'm disappointed in you.
What's the clue here? Actually, I think we're gonna take the Kakutamane route here. This person is the head coach of Austin FC at the time of recording. Anyway, that's the only clue. How many clubs do you need, Jeremiah?
Oh, can I ask a clarifying question before he bids?
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it include coaching appointments?
Nope. This is playing career.
I'm going to go -2.
Mike?
Well,
you're
I
the
have to
challenge.
go. Yeah, I have to go -3 then.
Okay. Jeremiah?
I'm going to challenge Mike. It's worked for me last time. I'm going to challenge Mike to name the 3 clubs.
All right. So he played for. His name is Joshua Wolff.
Correct.
He played for DC United, where he had incredible celebrations, where he'd tear his shirt off and jump into the crowd and be a part of the fan experience in a cool way. And then he played for Chicago Fire, where he would tear his shirt off and jump into the crowd celebrating and be a part of the fan experience in a cool way. And then he played in Germany, and was it Hoffenheim 1812?
Incorrect.
Damn it.
It was Munich 1860.
Oh, you were so
then-
close, Mike.
And then there was a trick, kind of a trap answer here as well. He played in Kansas City, but not
for the
for
Wiz?
Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, for
he
the
played for
Wiz.
the Wizards.
Yeah.
And I think it was post-Wiz, pre-Sporting. So it was the Wizards when he was
Oh,
there.
the dark era. Congratulations,
All right.
Jeremiah.
So Jeremiah with the comeback win. How do you feel, Jeremiah?
I'm really proud of Mike's inability to answer questions. I feel like my secret was conceding the challenges to Mike. So thanks, Mike. Appreciate that.
I'm glad to be the Austin FC of this game. Everything but the finishing. Here I am.
All right. Well, this was a lot of fun. I'm not sure. We might have to wait a few years to even do this again when we have more players to choose from, because it's quite hard to come up with clues that are vague enough and specific enough to actually get Austin FC players. But maybe it just turns into the who knows the most clubs game, which is also kind of fun. But so yeah, hopefully we'll be able to do this again. But if not, we'll find some other fun thing to do. Until then, we'd like to remind you to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Come find us on Twitter at LVHero87 and JBentley_ATX, and then Moontower Soccer on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And then Mike is Future X Skeleton on all of the social mediums.
Yep.
And then check out the Patreon. As always, thanks so much for listening. We'll be back next week to review the Portland and LA Galaxy matches, and then we will not have a preview as we're entering a bizarre international break. But we might. I don't know if we should say the name. We might have a very special guest joining us next week as well. So be sure to tune in. Until then, I'm Landon Cottom.
I'm Jeremiah Bentley.
And I'm Mike Cragnola.
We'll catch you next time.
When no one is around.
Thank for nothing, see you never.
La gente. Oh my God.